Who killed World War I top ace, the Red Baron? 1. Introduction. 2. The company. 3. The aircraft. 4. The man. 5. The end. 6. The aftermath. 7. Real-life footage. 1. Introduction. Top World War I fighter ace, German Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron, was shot down and killed alongside the Somme River, France, on the 21st of April 1918, aged 25. For half a century after his death, controversy raged about how he died. 5 men seriously claimed the prize, but it was not until 1969 that a probably definitive answer was obtained. This video, relying on Wikipedia and other online sources, summarizes what almost certainly happened. 2. The company. Fokker was a Dutch aircraft manufacturer that operated from 1912 to 1996, not to be confused with Focke-Wulf, the German aircraft company. The company was famous in World War I for its fighter aircraft. During the 1920s and 30s, Fokker dominated the civil aviation market. Fokker set up in the USA in 1927. After several mergers, it declared bankruptcy in 1996, and its aircraft manufacturing operations were sold to competitors, but various specialized Fokker operations still exist. Fokker set up in Germany prior to World War I and sold a range of aircraft to the German military, including the Red Baron's final aircraft, the Fokker WW1 Triplane, shown here over Berlin. After World War I, and despite strict disarmament conditions, Fokker returned to the Netherlands with huge trainloads of aircraft and components to set up shop quickly. Fokker's greatest success after the war was the 1925 Fokker FV113M airliner, shown here over Amsterdam. The Fokker airliner shared the European market with the Junkers Ju-52-3M, shown here over Paris. In the USA, the Fokker airliner dominated the market until the arrival in 1926 of the Ford Trimotor, shown here over New York. A serious blow to Fokker's reputation came after the 1931 crash of a TWA Fokker aircraft in Kansas. Notre Dame legendary football coach Knute Rockne was among the fatalities, prompting extensive media coverage, technical investigations and groundings. After World War II, Fokker's best-selling aircraft, financially supported by the Dutch government, was the Fokker Friendship F-27, shown here over Papua New Guinea, PNG. A digression. As a young airport engineer in the 1970s, helping to build an airport in PNG from an old World War II airstrip, my first flight was in one of those Fokker Friendship F-27s. We climbed forever from South Coast to get over the high ranges, then horizontal for hardly any time at all, then descended forever to get to the coast on the other side of the country. Perched on top of the ranges were the most remote, precariously perched villages you could imagine. Some flights stay with you forever. Three. The aircraft. The Fokker WW1, shown here, was a single-seat fighter aircraft used in World War I by Germany. It is famous for its distinctive triplane configuration and for being the aircraft type flown by the Red Baron during his final victories and death. Why a triplane? Triplanes were developed primarily to increase lift and maneuverability for fighter aircraft. While they offered advantages in climb rate, turning radius, and reduced wingspan, they also suffered from increased drag, reduced speed, poor visibility, and structural complexity compared to biplanes. The Fokker WW1 was developed in response to the success of the British Sopwith triplane. The Fokker featured a steel tube fuselage and cantilever wings, a design innovation at the time. Its first flight was in July 1917, and a total of 320 were made. Compared to the earlier German fighters, the Albatros and Pfalz, the Fokker DR-1 was highly maneuverable and had a good rate of climb, but it was slower than some other Allied contemporary fighters. The Fokker DR-1 had significant problems with wing failures, resulting in some fatal crashes. Other disadvantages included frequent engine failures, poor pilot visibility for takeoff and landing, and guns protruding into the cockpit without adequate crash protection. Despite its issues, the Fokker DR-1 became an iconic symbol of World War I fighter aviation, but very few survived the end-of-war armistice. '4. The Man. Manfred von Richthofen, 1892 to 1918, called the Red Baron because of his red-painted fighter Triplane during World War I, was born into a wealthy, noble Prussian family. He initially pursued a military career in the cavalry from 1911, before transferring to the Imperial German Air Service in 1915. He became the top ace in the war, and a highly decorated national hero. He was a skilled and daring pilot, also with great tactical and leadership skills. The Red Baron achieved 80 aerial victories in World War I, from September 1916 to April 1918, over France and Belgium. His victims were mainly British, with a few Canadians, an Australian, an American and a Rhodesian. From 1917, he commanded a group called the Flying Circus, so called because of its brightly coloured aircraft and nomadic existence in tents. On the map, B equals Belgium, F equals France, blue line equals Belgium-French border, green line equals River Somme. Almost a quarter of the Red Baron's 80 victories in World War I were in a Fokker DR-1 triplane, his final aircraft type. He himself was finally shot down and killed on the 21st of April 1918, aged 25. His younger brother Lothar was shot down several times, but survived the war, only to die later in an aircraft crash in 1922. 5. The End. At 10:30 a.m. on the 21st of April 1918, the Red Baron squadron departed Capy Frontline Airfield, France, to the west, along the River Somme, to deter British observer aircraft along the front line, which was just east of his eventual crash site. He was hoping to order more silver victory cups before going on leave in 2 days' time. His habit was to award himself a small engraved silver trophy for each victory. He already had 80. After a brief dogfight with 2 aircraft, which just managed to escape, the Red Baron squadron was over Allied territory and was set upon by 8 British Sopwith Camels, which included pilots May and Brown. Red line right-hand side. During the ensuing dogfight, May found he had the Red Baron on his tail, with bullets thudding into his aircraft. In a desperate attempt to escape, May dived near vertically and flattened out along the River Somme. Blue line. Brown saw May's desperate plight and dived from 2,000 feet, aiming at the Red Baron. May fired, then because of his high speed, overshot the Fokker, lost sight of it, and with low fuel and ammo, returned to base. Red line left-hand side. Approaching the Australian ground gunnery position of Popkin, Evans and Buer, there were also others. At treetop height, the Red Baron gained, and fired on poor May until both his guns jammed. The ground gunners fired on the Red Baron as he desperately tried to unjam his guns. Black line. As the ground gunners continued their firing, the Red Baron veered right, still under control of his aircraft. As he was coming out of the turn, his head jerked backwards and then slumped forward. His aircraft dropped in a sideslip, flattened out, nosed into the ground, bounced 3 meters into the air, and then nosed to a stop in the ground. The Red Baron himself took a deadly hit, not to mention the many hits on his aircraft, and his face slammed into his guns during the crash. The aircraft was destroyed, and the Red Baron was dead. Pink line. May's aircraft had been severely damaged by the Red Baron, but he managed to fly back to base. No doubt, May was saved by the jamming of the Red Baron's guns. Six. The aftermath. Autopsies of the Red Baron were made, and at least 5 different men were officially credited with the kill and congratulated by their commanding officers: Pilot Brown, Gunners Popkin, Evans and Buer, and another gunner. There was considerable competition between the British and the Australians to claim the kill. The RAF officially credited their pilot Brown, and totally refused to consider any other claim, or medical evidence, that the trajectory and damage caused by the fatal bullet could not be from Pilot Brown. Such was the importance attached to the Red Baron's fall. The debate went for years. Then, in 1969, an American aviation expert, Pat Carosella, after research, interviews, reconstructions, etc., proved that the fatal bullet must have come from the machine gun of Ossie Popkin. Popkin was never officially credited with the kill. He died a year before Carosella's published findings. RAF pilot Brown, who was officially credited, died in 1944. Unbelievably, the debate could have been solved at the time, if a medic had not souvenired, and later lost, the fatal bullet. Even early 1918 ballistics could have determined which gun fired the bullet. 7. Real-life footage. The Red Baron. World War I footage. It was cold up there. Very rare sight of 7 full-size World War I Fokker WW1 triplane replicas, in the air together, painted to represent the Red Barons, Manfred von Richthofen's Flying Circus Squadron in April 1918. Classic Fighters 2013 Airshow, Omaka, New Zealand. Courtesy of the Historical Aviation Film Unit, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.